Good morning, guys. October the 25th here in central Illinois. Now, after running the 226 and the 225 yesterday, the pre-war O-gauge tinplate, I got to thinking about basically my origins, what I started out with, and it was all in pre-war O-gauge. And I was thinking, basically, we read these magazine articles or we see all these really big fancy layouts of guys who could afford the 700E and the 226 and some of the other high class, high grade steam locomotives and cars that they were selling at that time, when in reality, us who were not in the upper 1% got a whole lot less, but that didn't dampen our make-believe dreams. So I've always had a fondness for the small 800 series cars. They're a four-wheel car, and for a while I was trying to collect every variation that I could get. Right here is a 259. Now this is a Lionel cheap tinplate with a manual reverse in the cab. And I remember well where I bought it many years ago. There was a train meet that used to be held up at the LaSalle, Peru, Illinois, right across the river. You jumped off the bridge and it was down in that industrial area someplace. I can't remember the name of it. It's been too long. But I thought that I had a real bargain when I got this thing. I couldn't believe what I paid for it. $50 at the time. And it runs like a fine Swiss watch. But this is your lower end Lionel. I would say it's in the same category as some of the Marts. All the small 800 series cars they're cool. But the 800 series cars later became the 2600 series cars. And what I always found interesting about these, the only thing that changed on these cars, the only thing, not the bodies, but the frame, because this frame is for four wheels. On the elevated is exactly the same bodies, but with a different frame. Every one of these would, from the 800 series would go to these frames, with no problem. Everything is the same on them. And basically, what Lionel was doing was taking a cheap line and spiffing it up just a little bit. It looked more realistic than the four-wheel frames that they put them on. The other thing that I had, which I don't mess around much with, passenger cars, but this is a cute little cheap passenger set. I always like the terracotta colors, and for anybody who's interested, the motors used in these electrics are exactly the same motors I used when I kit bash when I made this bigger electric. Believe it or not, the wheels are the same, but of course you have to extend the axles. You also have to there's a number of ways you can do it. You can offset your motor and your pickup, or you can take the old wheels and you've got to cut them down so you'll have a gearing. Now, I'll show you what I got. It's easier to show you than to tell you about it. But there you go. I've turned those wheels down and put a set screw in them, and I mount them on that axle, and then I set the gear mash, and it's ready to go. But I've seen it done other ways where they use the geared wheel and they just move the body or the pickup over to left or right, the whole unit. But I prefer to do it the hard way. But I may try it that way sometime. But since I've got another train on there, I can't run it too much, but I can show you what it is a nice running outfit. Those O-gauge motors are great for conversions into standard gauge. So, if you're wanting to get into that type of a situation, if you ever think about converting stuff, go for it. You won't be disappointed. All right, let's go ahead and run these two cheaper sets that I've got on here, and make our make-believe dreams come true. This little engine does a good job with as many cars as it's got. It really does. And when it comes to a isn't it cute factor, they've got it. It's all about make-believe anyhow. Tinplate's nothing more than smoke and mirrors. And with the holiday around the corner, I'll probably be running a whole lot more. I don't know about you guys, but when I had an electric train when I was a kid, I used to lay down by the side of the track just like I had the camera there a minute ago to watch it to go by me. And also as a kid, when we got the Christmas tree decorated, I'd get on my back and crawl underneath and look up through the tree. I think maybe that's a sign of perversion, I'm not sure. If it is, I love it. I don't know what kid wouldn't be happy with a set like this at Christmas time. Yeah, I realize it's not a 26E or a 226 or a 700E, but it still does the job. All right, guys, that's pretty much it for today. You have a good weekend. Enjoy. And next week is Halloween, so don't be smashing too many pumpkins. We'll talk with you later. Toodaloo.